Hello Wolves! With season 2 of the Umbrella Academy just around the corner, I've decided to do recaps on every single member of the Hargreeves family. So of course, on the first day we have to start with number 1, Spaceboy, aka Luther Hargreeves. So I thought it'd be a great idea to do like a refresher on each character. So this is just a refresher on Luther, Diego's will be out tomorrow, and so on and so on. So if you have any particular characters you'd like to watch, they will be in the description as they come out. So like I said, this is just a refresher on Luther, so it's just to re-jog your memory for season 2. Luther was born on the 1st of October 1989 along with 42 other babies, to a mother who had not started a day pregnant. Luther was given to the eccentric billionaire Reginald Hargreeves in exchange for money. Reginald got his hands on 7 of the 43 babies, who he trained to be a part of his vigilante group called the Umbrella Academy. Like his siblings, Luther was born with a gift. Luther's gift is superhuman strength. So basically your average Captain America, but bigger. Like way bigger than Captain America could ever hope to be. When we first meet Luther, he's on the moon, sent there by his father for a yet to be disclosed important reason. He's been there for 4 years collecting data and sending everything he's found back to his dad. He's lived there alone, isolated. He lives in a moon station with way too lower beams. I mean, he's the only one living there. Make the beams higher. You're gonna get a concussion. His years on the moon come to a dramatic close once he learns of his father's passing back on Earth. Luther returns to the academy immediately and becomes suspicious of his father's sudden death. He decides to investigate. He notes that their father's monocle, which he was never without, has gone missing. While searching his father's room, number 2, or Diego, comes into the room to reveal that the autopsy report he stole actually listed Reginald's death as a heart attack, so it was completely natural. But Luther believes that their father's death was far from natural, and that he wasn't alone when he passed. Diego doesn't share in this theory. Later on in the episode, after searching through the house for clues, he goes into his father's office, where he's reunited with his brother Klaus and sister Alison. Just like to add here that none of them are biologically related. Maybe Alison and Luther are not biologically related. It is weird. They're raised together, but not biologically related. Just want to put that in here now, and also for future reference. The entire academy minus 1 have returned home for their father's memorial, but before they can start, Luther decides to call a family meeting. Get used to this, he calls a lot of them. He explains he doesn't believe their father's death was as natural as the coroner had put in their report. He wants Klaus to summon their father and ask what happened, but unfortunately though, Klaus is way too high to use his powers. The rest of the siblings turn on Luther once they work out that he thinks one of them might have killed Reginald. Disappointed with his thoughts, they leave him alone in the living room, isolated. Just as isolated as he was on the moon. Feeling down, Luther goes to his old room and puts on one of his records. The familiar chords of I Think We're Alone Now starts, and finally letting loose for once, Luther dances to his heart's content. But it gets interrupted by the timely appearance of his missing brother, number 5, who has come back from the future. Finally, Reginald's memorial begins with Luther scattering, or more like dumping, his father's ashes. Pogo decides to say some words about his creator, but is interrupted by Diego, who calls Reginald a monster. Luther doesn't like this and a fight erupts, resulting in the statue of their deceased brother Ben being hit and broken. Diego throws one of his knives at Luther, slashing his arm. Luther panics and runs into the academy. Once in his room, we see that the cut on his arm is full of hair, or fur. During this episode, we see a couple of flashbacks to Luther's childhood at the academy. We see the children's first mission as the Umbrella Academy, which is of course successful. It's where the world gets introduced to the academy for the first time. We also see Reginald testing the kids and giving them tattoos to represent the Umbrella Academy. Maybe it's so he could lose them. Like, yes, that's my child, he has a tattoo. That's not my child, she hasn't got a tattoo. I wouldn't really put it past Reginald for that to be the reason. The next day, Luther sees Alison packing, ready to go back home to see her daughter, who Alison wants Luther to meet one day. She tells Luther that Claire knows all about him and that he's her own personal hero. Alison used to tell his stories about her uncle on the moon all the time. But instead of going with, Luther still wants to find out what really happened to his father. He has grown suspicions towards Diego, and he thinks he has something to do with it, so he goes to the gym that Diego regularly attends to ask around about him. The owner of the gym reveals that Diego lives there, and to pay for his board he also works there as the janitor. Luther discovers that Diego was actually in a boxing match on the night that Reginald died, so he couldn't be responsible for the old man's death. After another confrontation with Diego, he goes back to the academy, where Alison hurries up to him to tell him something important. Alison brings him to the surveillance room where Reginald used to monitor them and keep an eye on each child, and she shows him one particular video, the video from the night of Reginald's death. It's clear from the tape that Reginald did have some sort of heart attack, but it's also clear that Grace or Mum did nothing to help. She just stood there and watched. Diego is no longer the main suspect, Grace is. The pair go and talk to their robot mum to try and get some straight answers, but Grace doesn't remember anything from that day that's relevant. Luther believes that Grace has malfunctioned and should be turned off. She might be dangerous. He decides to tell the others about the tape. A vote to switch Grace off or keep her on is had, with Luther and Alison voting for off, while Diego, Klaus and Vanya vote for keeping Grace on. It's decided that they will wait for 5 to have his say before they finally decide, even though Luther's side totally lost that 100%. Diego also lets loose that the monocle that went missing has been in his possession this entire time, and that he got rid of it the night before. Luther asks why, and Diego reveals that he was just trying to protect Grace. If Luther found the monocle on Grace, he would do exactly as he is now. Is Diego also psychic, as well as amazing at throwing objects and holding his breath for a long time? Talking upstairs with Alison, their conversation is interrupted by heavy gunfire, as Cha-Cha and Hazel have arrived at the academy to hunt down 5. Luther fights Hazel and defends Vanya, trying to get her out of the way into safety. Luther and Hazel fight, with Hazel getting the upper hand. I would love to see these two wrestle like WWE style. Above them, Cha-Cha shoots the top of the chandelier, causing it to crash towards the floor. Seeing Alison in its path, Luther punches her out the way and takes the damage. I guess the glass from the chandelier must have torn his shirt, because using his super strength he pushes the offending object off of him, but also reveals what he's been hiding under his giant hoodie. His entire torso is no longer human, but is mostly ape. Seeing the shock on Diego and, more importantly, Alison's face, he runs off. We get our answers to how this happened in the form of a flashback. Now the only member of the Umbrella Academy left, he's sent on a mission by Reginald. The mission, by all accounts, goes horribly wrong fast, leaving Luther critically injured. Reginald, seeing no other choice, gives Luther a serum, which I assume is heavily mixed with ape DNA, maybe Pogo's. As you can imagine, Luther is horrified at what he sees when he wakes. Also, who put that Jack-in-the-Box monkey there? That's super mean and also kind of funny. Back to the present day, Luther is woken by Alison, who shows him a deactivated Grace. Alison asks what happened to him, and Luther explains about the mission and what Reginald did to save his life. Luther is extremely grateful for this. Diego and Luther search for number 5 after the previous night's events. The pair find 5's van with no 5 inside, but they do find him at a local library, extremely drunk and cuddling a mannequin named Dolores. Luther carries 5 back to Diego's room, and on the way, 5 informs him of who the 2 people that attacked the academy are. He also drunkenly admits that he's a horseman of the apocalypse, which I'm sure was a lovely thing to hear from your brother. Back in Diego's room at the gym, Luther is alone with 5, who spills the beans about the apocalypse. Luther takes it as well as can be expected. 5 tells his brother what happened to him in the future, aging alone with only a mannequin for company, becoming an assassin for the commission and killing innocent people for the organisation he worked for. Something Luther wasn't on board for. 5 describes what he found in the apocalypse, including the fall of the academy and his siblings' dead bodies. Luther and 5 decide to trick Hazel and Cha-Cha by leaving them a note telling them to meet and that they will bring the time-travelling briefcase back to them. They all meet up for the handoff, which seems to be going well, but of course nothing goes well for the Hargreeves, as a seemingly innocent ice cream truck is revealed to be driven by Klaus and Diego. Hazel and Cha-Cha, due to the appearance of the truck, thinks it's a setup, which makes the deal turn upside down. The handler appears to have a chat with 5, freezing everyone else around them. 5 accepts the deal laid out to him and leaves with the handler. Now unfrozen, he escapes the 2 assassins, driving off with Klaus and Diego. During a family meeting, Luther informs his siblings about the apocalypse, an event fast approaching, and that they perish in the aftermath. In the middle of the debate, number 5 jumps through time into the room. Number 5 incepted a communication from the Commission to protect a man named Harold Jenkins, who 5 deduces is the cause of the apocalypse. Luther still believes that Reginald sent him to the moon for a reason, and that must be connected to the apocalypse, which, to be fair for Luther, isn't the biggest jump ever. What he discovers isn't the purpose of his trip to the moon, but unopened reports that he sent back. Reginald didn't even read them. He was sent up there for no reason. 4 years of his life spent on the moon, thinking he was protecting the Earth, saving people like he's always done since he was a child. Luther attempts to let loose and forget about his discovery by getting drunk, but he thinks he needs something stronger. He asks Klaus to help him get high. Klaus refuses. He doesn't want Luther to end up like him, but this just pushes Luther to find his own source of drugs. To be fair to Luther, he actually succeeds in this mission, and high as a kite he finds himself at a rave. Feeling so good with himself, he's even comfortable enough to take off his top to reveal his ape body. He's really feeling himself. Klaus tracks down Luther at the rave and tries to bring him home, but he's having so much fun, finally free from his father and the academy, out in the open world. I mean, he even attracts a woman who thinks he's a fairy, so, you know, go Luther. Klaus wakes a hungover Luther who had popped his cherry with that woman from the club. Again, go Luther. Klaus calls a family meeting, but he can only find number 5 and Luther, who is suffering from his first hangover. Poor buddy. Klaus lets him in on a huge family secret that he just found out. Reginald didn't die from natural causes, nor was he murdered. He killed himself just to reunite his children to save the world. Luther doesn't believe this, but with reassurance of truth from Pogo, he has no other choice but to believe it. Luther has had enough with his family, so he does a very British thing. Goes for a pint. His sorrowful drink is interrupted by his brothers, who get him out of his stupor by mentioning that Alison was in danger. All of the brothers rush towards Landon Peabody's grandma's house, but they arrive too late. Alison's bleeding out on the floor from a neck wound. They rush back to the academy where Grace and Pogo take charge. Alison is still alive, but she's losing blood quickly. Both Luther and Klaus offer their blood, but it's both tainted by drugs and ape blood. Once alone, Luther stays at Alison's bedside. He admits to loving her with all his heart. Just want to add again that they're not biologically related, although they were raised together and super weird. Alison wakes and realises she can't speak. Her vocal cords are damaged. Luther hands her a notebook which Alison uses to communicate. She writes, Vanya Powers. Pogo tells him the last family secret, probably. It's definitely not the last secret. Vanya comes by the academy to see if Alison is okay and to apologise to her and the family. She genuinely didn't mean to harm her sister. Luther intercepts her, accepts her apology, and brings her close as she weeps. But Luther isn't about to forgive, as during the hug he puts her to sleep. He takes Vanya down to a secret room in the academy, one that used to contain her as a child, and he locks her in. He informs Klaus and Diego about what he found out from Pogo, and they're in disbelief, and along with Alison, they don't agree with keeping Vanya locked up. Luther stands strong against his siblings and won't allow them to let Vanya out. He tries to comfort Alison, but she pushes him off. A loud crash startles the pair. Vanya had broken out of her confinement and was bringing the house down around them. Trying to rush out of Alison before the house collapses, he sees Pogo trying to reason with Vanya, but is ultimately killed by his rod. The family make it out. 5 realises that Vanya is the cause of the apocalypse. An apocalypse they believed had already been stopped, and that they're gonna have to stop it. The police are called, so the remaining members of the family flee and head for the local bowling alley. Obviously an amazing place to meet and talk about how to either kill or detain your sibling. Luther thinks everyone should prepare for the worst to stop Vanya. His siblings disagree, they think there could be other options, but Luther's not so optimistic. Thanks to Klaus, they know that Vanya will be at her headline concert. Trying to prove himself to his siblings, Klaus throws one of the balls towards an empty space, claiming it's Ben. Unfortunately, Ben couldn't catch it, proving nothing to his siblings, only embarrassment. Luther has a go at him, and in retaliation, Klaus lets slip that Luther had sex with the girl from the party, which upsets Alison enough for her to walk off. They're not together, so Luther sleeping with this woman shouldn't really affect Alison as much as it did. I get that they're childhood sweethearts and maybe something more, but Alison moved on with Patrick, so why can't Luther have some fun? Luther catches up to her and explains that after learning about the mission to the moon and how he was sent up there for no reason, he went on a binge and slept with a random girl. Alison asks Luther for a favour. He rings Claire and relays everything to Claire that Alison writes. But Luther takes over, telling Claire everything he feels for Alison. They head back to the bowling alley. 5 is left and the group come under fire by members of the commission. The family escape through the aisles and head to find Vanya. Now at the concert hall, Luther uses Alison as a distraction, so he and his brothers can grab a now fully powered Vanya, but of course it goes horribly wrong. More commission soldiers come but are quickly dispatched by Ghost Ben, who rips them apart. Everyone apart from Alison rush at Vanya, but she uses her powers to suspend them in the air and drain their life force. With the help of Alison and a gun, the boys are let go. They all think they've done it, saved the world, but Klaus notices that some of Vanya's power shot straight at the moon and bits of moon rock fall towards the earth, and the Hargreeves realise the apocalypse is still happening. So the moon was relevant after all. 5 offers a way out, time travel, something he's never done with other people before. With no other option, everyone agrees to time travel. The first season ends with the Hargreeves receding back into their childlike bodies as they start to time travel. So that is Luther's refresher for season 1. I hope you enjoyed. Luther gets a lot of shtick, and I kind of understand it. When I first watched Umbrella Academy, I was like, excuse me, don't treat Vanya like that. But when I rewatched it a couple of times in preparation for this video, I was like, I understand it. Like, I don't like how he did it, but I understand his methods. And I also was a bit iffy towards him because he was mean to my favourite character, Diego. But then again, I can also see the reason behind it, and I can also see Diego being mean back. So your perception of people change on a couple of viewings of shows. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a thumbs up if you did. This is the first of 7 recaps of the Umbrella Academy, so stay tuned for that. If you want to be notified when they're uploaded, please click that bell down below and subscribe to my channel because I do videos like this every single week, and subscriptions are free here on YouTube, so what have you got to lose? Your dignity, maybe, if you subscribe to me. Anyway, comment down below what you think of this. Did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? This is my first recap, and I don't know if I've done it right or wrong, so please let me know down below. If you have any video suggestions, also let me know down below. And I will see you next time. Bye, little wolves.